Alright, Trickies and Truckers, time to take a look at the second episode today, which is Wrongs Darker Than Death or Night. In Quarks, Jesse Dex unsuccessfully tries to convince Worf to let her throw a party with the crew of the USS Saratoga in their quarters. She almost has him convinced when he bolts at the last moment. Quark saves them from awkward silence by informing Worf that the holosuite is ready. Once the Klingon is gone, he asks about the party. Despite Dex's answer, Quark goes about his business and delivers some Bajoran lilacs to nearby Kira. This immediately catches Dex's interest, so he follows Kira out of the bar and onto the promenade. Kira's ordered the flowers for herself, despite the fact that she doesn't like flowers, to commemorate her late mother's 60th birthday. While she never knew her mother, and she was only 3 years old when she died at the refugee camp, Kira knows Bajoran lilacs were her mother's favorites. She also acts so proud she has always been of her mother for what she did, and who, according to her father, was the bravest woman he ever met. Later that night, Kira receives an encoded transmission from Dukat in her quarters, and about to find to come clean with his emotions and himself, Usui claims to have known Kira's mother and that they were lovers until the day she died. Rather than Kira believes, namely that her mother died at the Singha refugee camp on Bajor, Dukat claims that her father told her a lie because he couldn't bear to tell his children that their mother had left him for Dukat. Kira cannot believe her ears and is disgusted with what Dukat tells her, but at the same time she is shaken at the amount of detail Dukat appears to know about her mother and becomes uneasy. While Kira doesn't want to believe Dukat, too many things he claimed to know about her mother were true, and there was no significant doubt in her mind after she does some research of her own. She has a hard time confronting the issue, however, and takes her frustration with the situation out of the people around her. She is stuck to Brigadier Chief O'Brien, who discusses the next whole adventure involving the Alamo while on duty. She wants to do something about her situation after talking with Odo, so she asks Captain Sisko for permission to use the orb time down to Bajor at the Temple of Inpanu to find out for herself, because she knows the Vedic Assembly will allow her access to the orb if the emissary proves it. He's ambivalent about Kira's idea due to Starfleet's temporal displacement policy. Kira says this matter has nothing to do with the Federation, firmly believing that the prophets will protect and guide her to do the right thing, that is, not disturb the timeline. Sisko eventually agrees to let her try. At the temple, Kira opens the orb casing. In a flash, she is sent back in time and finds herself at a refugee camp during the occupation, surrounded by starving Bajorans. After a few seconds, she finds herself face to face with her family, her brother Taban and her mother Miru, along with her suffering brothers Rion and Paul. A gullible Bajoran men try to force Taban to give them food, but Nerys intervenes by forcibly telling the men to go stand in line like everyone else and get their own food. They refuse, so Nerys is forced to fight them to get them to leave. Grateful for Kira's efforts, Miru introduces herself, her husband, her sons, Rion and Paul, and her daughter Nerys. The little Nerys wants to know the name of the woman who helped her family, so pressed for a name, the little Nerys claims her name is Luma Ral. Shortly thereafter, Basso, a Bajoran collaborator, and 2 Cardassian soldiers come and collect various women, including Miru and Nerys, as comfort women for the Cardassian soldiers. Having received the orders for their prefect, Gul Dukat, they handpick the women and drag them away from their families. Miru screams out to her husband, who is shaking and is in tears, telling him that she loves him, asking him to tell her children to not forget her. Miru, Nerys, and the others are taken to the near-completed station Terek Nor, where they are given quarters, plenty of food, fine dresses, and told to clean up and linger in the station's sonic showers so they can look their best the next day. While Nerys tries to console Miru, telling her that everything will be fine and that they will get out of here soon, Miru is distracted by all the wonderful food she finds on the table in their quarters, such as fresh moba, caterpillar beans, aspersad, and more. Miru eagerly begins to eat, not having seen many of these dishes in ages, but Nerys is not enthused and in fact wants no part of it. She wants her to contact the Bajoran resistance. She likely has to settle somewhere on the station when Miru, in her doldrums, begins to cry, as she misses her family and wonders about her children. Sobbing, she says that she wants to believe that the Cardassians were telling the truth when they said that they would take care of her family, but Nerys tells her to not count on it. She insists they find a way to get out of the station and join a resistance cell somewhere. She comforts Miru as she embraces her face. She notices the scar on her cheek, but she failed to show a Cardassian officer proper respect. Nerys continues to embrace her face lovingly, telling her that the scar does not look so bad after all. Miru wonders why Nerys keeps helping her. Nerys replies that she doesn't have many friends, and Miru tells her she definitely has one now. Next day, Basso commends them on their hard work in transforming themselves into beautiful new women. He tells them that their former lives have ended, that their pasts have been erased, that they have one purpose, and one purpose only: to provide comfort and care to the Cardassian officers stationed on Terra Nor. He warns them that failure to comply will result in their families being sent to labor camps for the rest of their lives. But it carries on with its threats and the long consequences that will follow disobedience. Dukat interrupts him. He welcomes the women and seems quite compassionate. He assures them that the picture of Cardassians as cruel and heartless people is wrong, and hopes to be able to show these women the extent to which Cardassians are capable of great kindness. Miru tries to ask what will happen to their families. Rather than have her removed, he approaches her kindly and tells her that they will be taken care of. Before turning away from her, however, he discovers a scar on her face. He orders Basso to retrieve a dermal generator and fixes the scar, calling it a unfortunate reminder of the guilt that exists between their peoples. Much to Nerys's dismay, Miru seems a bit too taken away by Dukat's act of kindness. The women are taken to what will later be the wardroom on Deep Space Nine. Various Cardassian officers are seen forcing themselves on the Bajoran women. Miru and Nerys stand in a corner with Miru smiling. Still somewhat disturbed at Miru's earlier attitude toward Dukat, Nerys asks her what she is smiling about. Miru says that she is laughing at the Prophet's apparent sense of humor, as she always dreamed about having enough food to eat and pretty clothes to wear, but now that she has seen them, she feels horrible. Before she knows, she's dragged by a sleazy, drunken Cardassian. Meanwhile, a managed Cardassian has Nerys set on his lap, as he is directly amused by a visible hatred towards his kind. When Dukat enters, he finds the guard officer forcing himself on Miru and intervenes, apologizing profusely and having Miru sent back to her quarters. Despite the apparent compassion, the officer Nerys has seen this act before and is able to predict precisely the line Dukat feeds to Miru, who he says is now off limits to the other Cardassians. Miru's going to Nerys returns to their quarters, but Basso and two guards are retrieving her belongings. Nerys demands to see Miru and gets into a fist fight, which everybody loses when a Cardassian officer finally strikes her down with the butt of his rifle. They take her to the fenced-off area of Terra Nor's promenade, which is reserved for Bajoran slave laborers. A few weeks later, Nerys is getting her soup from the server, a man named Halb Dair, who has heard word of Miru's whereabouts. He follows her to her table and claims Miru has been on vacation with Dukat from which she just returned. To the man, Miru is nothing but a collaborator, and Nerys has no reason to care for her, but Nerys insists otherwise. He tries to get her to join the resistance, but as she could affect the course of history, she is supposed to stay out of such things. The conversation is interrupted when Basso and a pair of guards are to take Nerys away. They check through a security scanner and enter Dukat and Miru's quarters, where Miru is waiting for her. She is seen relaxed and fully rested, wearing a beautiful dress and smiling as Dukat walks into the room with a vase full of the Bajoran lilacs she loves so much. Nerys is beside herself with both astonishment and disgust when she sees Miru and Dukat's interaction with one another as lovers. It turns out that Miru is the one who sent for Nerys, as she is her only friend and she is lonely. Dukat senses that Nerys doesn't like him and assures her that he has been treating Miru with the utmost respect and consideration. And then kisses Miru goodbye and leaves. Miru turns to Nerys and tells her that he is in fact very different from what she expected. She says that Dukat is not a monster, making up excuses and repeating the ones he has given her about the occupation. As excessive as Nerys is when Miru talks about Dukat's kindness, Nerys says that things are not so simple and that Nerys does not know what she has been through. Nerys tries to open Miru's eyes, telling her that while she is sitting in the room sipping tea and playing parlor games, Dukat is carrying out the extermination of their people. When Miru keeps defending Dukat and continues regurgitating his lies, Nerys becomes furious, telling her that he has taken her away from her children and husband, wondering how she can forget them so quickly. Miru once again insists that Dukat is helping them out with food and medication, but Nerys cannot believe what she is hearing as, in her eyes, nothing excuses what Miru is doing. Nerys says that she's using the "I'm doing it for my children" line as an excuse, and that in fact she's there for herself only. She's a collaborator, not because she's sharing Ducat's bed, but because she allowed herself to start enjoying it. She storms off the quarters, telling her she's going back to where she's going back where she belongs. Back in the ghetto area, Nerys is talking with her resistance member again and gets a Bajoran earring with an explosive built into it. And as a 3-minute fuse, it cannot be discerned once it has been deactivated. Hop tells her not to tell Ducat's Bajoran mistress about what she's doing, even if it's to save her life. Nerys replies that need not worry, because as a coward and collaborator, Children deserves what she gets. Oof. Kira goes to the guards and tells them that she has decided which side of the fence she wants to be on. She has to be taken to Maru so she can apologize to her. Ambassador returns her. Nerys, as expected, finds Maru Ducat sitting at the table, laughing and having a good time. She tells her that she has changed her mind and wants to be friends again. Maru accepts her apology and asks Ducat to get her some quarters close by. Before leaving, Ducat hands the transmission code and data to Maru. As he goes to an adjacent study room, and Maru prepares to watch the message, Nerys casually activates and then slips the bomb into a flower vase. While she waits for the right moment to leave the room, she suddenly hears the message, which turns out to be from her father. He talks about how they've been treated since Maru was taken from them, how much the children are thriving now that they are back home again, and how much he misses her. He praises her for having saved all of their lives, and he cries for the sacrifice she is making. As he talks, Maru begins to cry, trying to scream from which her husband speaks. Nerys realizes that maybe her mother is not the heartless traitor and collaborator she thought she was. Nerys yells for Ducat and takes him and Maru out into the corridor, where they narrowly escape the detonation of the bomb. The two Ducat's guards are killed. While they're escaping, Ducat goes up for Maru and tries to shield her from the blast, showing that he does have some true affection for her. Suddenly, the overexperience ends and Nerys finds herself back in her own time again. She discusses her experiences with Sisko, telling him that until this day, the line between a collaborator and a devoted Bajoran was very clear to her. She always believed her mother to be a hero who died for the cause, while she despised collaborators as the traitors they were. Sisko tells her that Maru did what she had to do to save her family, but Nerys insists that it does not make it right. Sisko agrees, but notes that it was her mother's decision to make. She tells Sisko that her mother died 7 years later in a Cardassian hospital, wondering if he knows just how many Bajorans died while her mother was confident simply Kanar with a genocidal murderer. She is heartbroken and disappointed. Sisko asks her why she saved her mother's life despite her newfound hatred for her. She replies that while there was a part of her that wishes she hadn't, in the end, no matter what Maru did, she was still her mother. Yeah, that's very true. So anyway, let's take a look at some continuity and trivia surrounding this episode. The title of this episode is a quotation from the 1920 Percy Bysshe Shelley lyrical drama Prometheus Unbound. The full quotation reads, "To suffer woes which hopes thinks infinite, to forgive wrongs darker than death or night, to defy power which seems omnipotent, to love and bear, to hope creates, from its own wreck the thing it contemplates, neither to change, nor falter, nor repent. This, like thy glory, Titan is to be, good, great, and joyous, beautiful, and free. This is a lone life, joy, empire, and victory." It comes from Act 4, lines 572 to 580, serving as the epilogue of the play as spoken by Demogorgon. As real as the Deep Space Nine / Terra Nova was built in 2346. This contradicts Odo's statement of Babel that it was built in 2351. The difference of 5 years could be that Odo's just being wrong, or instead that 2346 is the beginning of the building and 2351 is the ending. When Ducat tells Kira that Sisko allowed him to see behind the lies and face the truth about himself, he's referring to the episode Waltz, where Ducat comes to realize that he truly hates the Bajoran people, and he admits that he feels he should have exterminated them all during the occupation. During Ducat's transmission to Kira, Federation car-style interfaces are just very visible on the wall behind him, indicating he's still using the shuttlecraft he stole in Waltz. The assassination to which Ducat refers in Waltz could have been in one this episode. It just occurred on its 1-month anniversary, and, given the chronology established in the episode, that would seem to fit. Kira's two brothers were previously mentioned in the second season episode Shadow Play, although not by name. This episode is the first in which O'Brien and Bashir mention the Battle of the Alamo. Their holosuite recreation of this famous battle will become more important over the course of the following season. Tosca Plashi also played Kira Taban in the fifth season episode Ties of Blood and Water. Kara Clopton does not appear in this episode. Among the costumes and items from this episode which were sold off on the It's Up sale and auction on eBay, uniform worn by Wayne Grace, an unvisitor costume lot, a Kira Maru costume lot worn by Leslie Hope and J. Suzanne Ramp, and several Madron Comfort women costumes. The latter costume was later worn by Deborah Lamb Baleo, Miss Phyllis Dera Malo, and deleted scene in the Star Trek Enterprise first season episode Broken Bow. The doll held behind Kira Nerys appears to be Loopy, a doll belonging to Molly O'Brien. So I think this episode is kind of interesting, and yeah, getting to see where stations past is also pretty interesting to me, so yeah. So overall I give Wrongs Darker Than Death or Night 4 warp cores out of 5. When I tune in by Zoe to the final episode of the day, Inquisition. So, until then, live long and prosper, everybody.